Okay, so here we are. Once again, thank you so much for being here. If you're here, it's because you want to know more about the Mental Health Career Program for this upcoming year in 2024-2025. I am excited to have you here and listening into this information, and I am hoping that whether you are here to listen to this information for yourself or you are here because you want to share this information, I am hoping that our efforts are helpful for you and those close to you that you would like to see them succeed, because we also like to see you and others around you succeed. My name is Mayra Barlangan O'Brien. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I am the mental health senior manager at Immigrants Rising. And here we have Lori Laure-Recinos is an associate marriage and family therapist, and she is a mental health career program participant. And we also have Dr. Muriel Casamayor, a licensed marriage and family therapist, and she is a site supervisor. You're going to hear a lot more from them in a little bit, but for the sake of time and for me to give you this information now, and so if you have any questions for Lori or for Dr. Muriel, please write them down, have them ready, because I'm going to be asking them some questions, and I'm sure that they would love to hear from you and what questions you have for them. Just a little bit about Immigrants Rising. Immigrants Rising was funded in 2006. And the goal of this organization is to help undocumented people pursue an education and careers that create brighter futures for them, for their families, and for their communities. As I'm talking about the program, I want to give you a little bit of a background / context as to why this program was created. Then I want to share with you the goal of this program, the overall goal of this program. I'm going to be sharing the overview of it. What are the benefits? What are the roles and responsibilities for the participants? What are the requirements to be a part of the program? Then we're going to have that panel that I just mentioned about. Then I'm going to be sharing a little more about the application process and answer any additional questions that you may have. Now, if you can tell me here in the chat, this question. As I'm sharing this information with you, I would like you to be mindful of or thinking about how many fully undocumented therapists do you believe are in the US? Now, knowing that there's about 309,000 master level clinicians in the US and about 106,000 psychologists, meaning doctorate, PhD or PsyD level psychologists, in a state in the country that has a population of 333 million in the US, and knowing that there's 11 million undocumented people in the US, how many fully licensed undocumented therapists do you think are in the US? Feel free to put your guesses in the chat or unmute yourself. Right, it's hard, I know. I know it's hard. And so the answer is like, we don't know. We don't know, one, because that is not something that it's being tracked. And two, because there are so many limitations to becoming a licensed clinician in the US, more specifically for those who are undocumented. There are 7 states, only 7 states in the whole United States that allow fully undocumented individuals to seek professional licenses. California is one of them. And even then, there are still so many barriers that we as undocumented clinicians have to face in order to become licensed. Some of the state's policies that you may be familiar with is AB 540 and SB 68 that allow some people, some students, to pay in-state tuition if they meet certain requirements. There's also some other limitations, for example, in terms of independent contracting. There's AB5, which prevents, once you graduate, in other states, once you graduate with your master's degree, you're able to have your own private practice. While you're accumulating your hours, you hire a supervisor, but you can still work on your own. Here in California, because of AB5, there's some limitations for mental health providers. And one of those limitations is that we cannot be independent contractors. So that's the interesting thing. In California, you are allowed to become a fully licensed clinician, regardless of your immigration status. But you have to accumulate those 3,000 supervised hours in order for you to sit in for the licensure exam and become licensed. Now, as I mentioned, there's SB 1159 that allows people with an ITIN or with the Social Security number to obtain a professional license. And then there's the additional barrier that comes from the Board of Behavioral Sciences that says that in order for someone to accumulate those 3,000 hours to become fully licensed clinicians, they have to volunteer or they have to be a W-2 employee. Because of that, imagine just you graduated with the master's degree, which was so difficult to get. On top of that, you had to, you already had to volunteer at the internship, right? And then after that, you're told, okay, you graduated, congrats. Now you have to volunteer another 3,000 hours if you cannot be an employee, because maybe you don't have a Social Security number. Then what? And this is one of the reasons why, like, California, yay, we can get licensed. But then, oof, how can you survive? How can you accumulate those many hours when you have to survive? You have to get that income in order to survive. And not many have the opportunity to just volunteer those 3,000 hours that for some people, it's 2 years worth of working 40 hours a week. That's how many 3,000 hours are. Now, the Board of Behavioral Sciences says that if you have received a stipend or an educational loan repayment from a program designed to encourage demographically underrepresented groups to enter the profession, or to improve recruitment and retention in underserved regions or settings, a 1099 for the stipend or loan repayment is accepted. Meaning that, yes, you have to volunteer or be a W-2, and those who volunteer can get a stipend as long as they are a part of a program like this. So as soon as I found this information, I said, okay, well, what can we do? That's exciting to know that, yes, we can do this. But how can we make this happen if there is no such program that exists? I did call the Board of Behavioral Sciences to know if there's any type of guidelines, or if they have maybe a list of different institutions that have this type of program where we can get a stipend. And they said, there's no guidelines, there's no programs, we really don't know. But we're gonna encourage you to call your Board of Ethics to see if maybe they know something. So I did call my Board of Ethics, which is CAMP, and yes, I'm glad that some folks here are starting something related to mental health, because there are so many opportunities once we become licensed. And as I mentioned, I was calling CAMP, and they told me, you know what, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know where, and the information that the BBS is providing is exactly that statement that you're telling me. But yet, this is the very first time that somebody asks this question. And so I said, well, then this is what we can do. Then let's create a program that encourages demographically underrepresented groups, in this case, undocumented folks, to enter the profession and to improve the recruitment and retention of undocumented clinicians in the US. So this is where the Immigrants Rising Career Program started back in 2021. These beautiful faces are from career participants from last year. And overall, the mental health career program, the goal of it, this is here in a nutshell. It provides a community and helps folks to build a network of professional folks, fully licensed clinician, colleagues like themselves, and other professionals. It provides career training, professional development, mentorship, and they offer mental health support for the undocumented community. Some of the program benefits are that they will receive that hands-on experience by providing those mental health services to undocumented folks and gain hours towards their licensure. Now, first-year participants typically this year they're going to be collecting about 450 hours, clinical hours, and about the second-year participants are going to be accumulating 600 hours. They're going to be, like I mentioned, receiving supervision, one-on-one supervision, group supervision, training, mentorship. And as I mentioned, this mentorship is going to be from staff members and licensed therapists, amongst their colleagues, of course. There's a professional and leadership development training. There's going to be a stipend that supports that participation in the program. And I'm going to be talking a little bit in the next few slides about how the stipend is going to look like. But the second-year participants are going to be receiving an additional amount so that they can get EMDR training. Now, for the roles and responsibilities, they will provide pro bono mental health services to undocumented folks. They're going to get that weekly supervision meetings with the clinical supervisor. They're going to participate in weekly group supervision as well. And they're going to have that monthly leadership and professional development sessions with different Immigrants Rising staff members. And at the end, they're going to develop an end-of-year program project. This program typically consists of them creating their own business so that they can continue to make a living, they can continue to thrive if they were to continue to volunteer for those hours, or maybe they're getting ready to get their private practice once they're done with their hours. Now, who are we looking for? We're hoping to get those folks that are able to show commitment to provide mental health services to the undocumented community. They must have a master's degree in social work, marriage and family therapy, or a mental health related field, or counseling. They have to have one of these unexpired associate registrations in California. They could be an associate clinical social worker, an associate marriage and family therapist, or an associate clinical counselor. Associate professional clinical counselor, yes. They also have to show proof of malpractice insurance at the start of the program and be reliable, because a lot of this work is working independently and everything is going to be online. Even though we meet constantly and we have those weekly meetings, participants get to choose their schedule. And so, you know, that flexibility and that ability to work on their own is going to be extremely important. Now, here is a little bit more of the breakdown. For the first year participants, the time commitment is going to be about 15 hours a week from the start, which is going to be October 21st, until about the first or second week of May. And the reason why we're giving an estimate is because depending on how it is for each individual to wrap up the process of closing their caseload, sometimes some folks take a little longer, and that's totally okay. But by the second week of June, it is expected that everything is ending. All treatment plans, all of their cases have been closed. properly. There's going to be a mandatory meeting on October 21st, which is a Monday. The time we're going to be giving it to them as soon as we onboard them. Now, for second year participants is very similar, but their time commitment is larger, and the type of training that first year participants received are going to be different from the trainings that the second year participants are going to be receiving. There's also for both going to be monthly professional development trainings that are typically on the first Friday of every month. And then there's going to be a team meeting every third Friday of every month. Now, here's the good stuff. The stipend. For first year participants, you're going to receive a $14,000 stipend. The first installment is going to be $3,000, and it's going to be given to the participants by mid-November. The second one, it's going to be $3,500 by the end of January. The third one is going to be about $3,500, not about $3,500 by about the end of February. And then the last one is going to be $4,000 by the end of March. The installments are going to be in the same timeline for the second year participants, but the stipends, because of the time commitment and the difference between the involvement, the time involvement with the program, it's higher. They are going to be receiving a $21,300 stipend, and approximately $1,300 is going to go for that EMDR training, which is quite expensive. However, that training is so needed with a lot of the clients that we provide services with that have experienced trauma. So that the first installment is going to be $5,300, the second one $5,000, third one $5,000, and the fourth one $6,000. Again, the timeline is about the same as the other one. So again, to wrap it up, we do need to make sure that participants are going to be having an associate registration number in California, and that they are interested in offering mental health services to the undocumented community. If you are selected, you will attend a mandatory onboarding meeting on October 21st. You will participate in monthly leadership and professional development meetings, and your participation will begin October 21st. It will end by the second week of June. Now, this is the good stuff. Here is Lori and Dr. Muriel. I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now so that I can ask them some questions. So if you can please both introduce yourselves, tell folks in here and those who are going to be watching you at a later time a little bit about yourselves, maybe your name, pronouns, license, and anything else that you would like to share. I see both of you are unmuted, so whoever would like to go first.
Muriel, go ahead. I go first. Hello, everyone. My name is Muriel Casamayor. Well, Doctora Muriel Casamayor. I'm getting used to this new title. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I'm formally undocumented. I was born and raised in Peru. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist here in California, EMDR certified and consultant in training. So looking to finish my consulting for EMDR soon as well. So I focus on working a lot with the undocumented LGBTQI+ community. I do a lot of work on immigration and grieving, complex PTSD. 80% of my practice is EMDR clients. 90% of my practice are clients that are monolingual in Spanish, and I work with all ages.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laudi. I am an associate marriage and family therapist. My pronouns are she, her, ella, and I also identify as bisexual. So a big part of my practice focuses on working with undocumented people. I'm fully undocumented myself. And I, yeah, eventually would like to work with teenagers. I've had a hard time having teenage clients so far, but I have a big heart for the teenage community. I think they are the hardest to work with. A lot of people don't like working with them because they can be so difficult, but I think they need help the most. And I would eventually like to work with mostly teenagers, but so far I've worked with all ages, all backgrounds. And yeah, this is hopefully going to be my second year with the program.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. And yes, those teenage years are so difficult for a lot of us, and I'm glad that we have people like you to continue to support them in those spaces. Now, Laurie, I keep calling you Laurie. It's like,
It's okay.
not the brain. So my apologies, Laurie. If you would like to share, what are some of the most significant challenges that you faced before knowing about the program or before joining the program?
Yeah, so obviously one of the big ones, right, is making money while getting your associateship. I always revert back or think back to when I was applying for my program and during orientation, realizing that maybe I would have some trouble getting a place for my traineeship. And I went up to the program director at my school and I asked if, it was possible for me. And she basically said yes. And I trusted that, she was like, yeah, we've had undocumented students before. It's doable. I was like, great, fantastic. And then once it came down to it, there was very little guidance, very little help, no attempt to connect me with anyone. It was always, people have done it before. We've had undocumented students. No, like, oh, maybe we can connect you with one of them, or like, here's who you can talk to get nothing. And so I actually got really burnt out during my program trying to figure out how to make money or what I could do after graduating. Um, so that was a big one, the uncertainty of figuring out how to earn some income while being undocumented. So I ended up taking some time off and I took about 3 years off. I graduated in 2020 and I think the program actually started in 2020, but I didn't know about it back then. And so when I graduated, I went into a different field that I had already worked in for a long time. I was making good money, so I took that time off until I heard about the program from Maida herself. And yeah, so the biggest challenge was just figuring out what associateship looks like for an undocumented person and just what it means to not have to volunteer all your hours or not have any income from your field, and then trying to avoid getting burnt out of the field that you want to be in.
Yes, that's a big one. And so I do want to follow up with the question of, as you are providing services to the undocumented community, maybe if you can share a little bit of what are some of the both challenges and joys of being a part of the mental health career program?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things has been that I have, like you mentioned a little bit ago, had my independence within the program and kind of can manage my own, and realizing that I really had to make sure that I was stepping in and holding my own because, we had help, we had support, but it really is up to us, right? Like, we're not in school anymore, and realizing that, nobody's walking you through all of it. There's support. And if we need you guys' help, you guys are there. But we also kind of had to make sure to stay on top of it because nobody can do our progress notes. Nobody can do, our appointments for us. Nobody can talk to our clients to, nobody can do terminations for us if a client's not showing up, so it's up to us to pick up new clients and buy our clients, and so it was a lot of, I think I've gained a lot of confidence in my own abilities, and providing services to the undocumented community. I think just realizing that not one experience is the same. It's beautiful to be able to connect on being undocumented with my clients, but also every experience is different. And learned so much more about, you know, the assumption that undocumented people are all Latino or all speak Spanish, or, you know, and having clients that are like, I walk into a room and I feel so left out because everyone's using Spanglish. And I'm like, I am so sorry, you know, like, and so learning all of those things and checking myself about these kinds of things has been great. It's been a great opportunity to learn so much more.
Yes, I appreciate your insights, and oof, those progress notes. They're gonna be the end of us. And mind you, how difficult are they? So maybe those who are, you know, like hesitant about like, oh, I don't know if I want to join because, oh, I don't know if those 15 to 20 hours are enough. Like, does it take me 30 minutes to make one note? Does it take 5 minutes? I don't know. Do you want to talk a little bit about this for those that are a little hesitant about like, why is everybody talking about how awful the notes are?
Yeah, so I do know it depends, right, on who you've worked with in the past. I know people who work for, I think, like the county or
Mhm.
something, like paperwork is completely different. I have never had to do that. I've always been, so because I was undocumented, my site for traineeship had to be religious based because they were the only ones that
Mm.
didn't fingerprint or you like require any like an SSN or anything. Uh, so they had their own forms for progress notes and everything. So it, you know, I think it depends on the person. You can be really detailed. I think one thing I learned from the program, especially as an undocumented person, is um, to cover your own butt in your notes, you know, but also not put information in it that could hurt your client in the long run, if anything got subpoenaed or anything like that. And so I think it depends on how much time you put into it. But I mean, by the end of the program, it was taking me maybe 5 minutes to do a note. But it can take 15, 20, 30 at the beginning while you're figuring out what info goes where. And so I think it depends. Yeah. So I think in the program, maybe you'll get to a place where 10 minutes max is what you'll be spending on a note.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, it's definitely county work is awful. Um, I'm just gonna put it out there, just the notes and the assessments and everything is so long. In private practice, it does look different. And talking about the private practice, Dr. Muriel, if you want to share a little bit about what interested you in being a part of this program as a supervisor.
Of course, thank you for asking that question. I think for me, as an associate, my experience wasn't the best. I needed representation. I needed someone that understood what it's like to be an immigrant, what was like to be undocumented. So when I asked questions, it was very like, well, is it ethical or not? Is it professional or not? So understanding that we need to step away from that Western like therapy, which does no longer fit our client's necessity, was one of the biggest things that I really think about becoming a supervisor. And I did all my trainings because I really want to represent who are we working with, and having a little bit of knowledge that like Lottie shared, you know, like our experience are very unique, but having those connections because of our identities definitely makes a big difference. And being in a room where nobody connects with you because you're the only person of color, you're the only women there, you know, cis women or an immigrant, it's never going to be the same. So I felt that here in California, there's a lot of BIPOC therapists that maybe have had the same experience, and just being able to make that experience different, you know, it make me happy.
Yay, we love that you're a part of this. Now, as Laura is mentioning about notes and about, you know, there's different styles for every person, everybody learns differently. What is your style of supervision? And let's start there. What is your style of supervision?
Yes, so I think I'm very client-centered, but I'm also very holistic. And if we talk about approach, where we have to meet our clients where they are,
Mhm.
but also comes with accountability. So it's a mix of everything. I make sure that I create a safe space for my associates to share their concerns, because it is scary to just be thrown in a room and like, you're the expert, you do the therapy, but then you don't know, or you're just experiencing feelings or emotions that are very similar to your clients, and then you feel like you're being a bad therapist, because those are the things that were taught at school. But then when we talk about it in supervision, we're humans at the end of the day. So I try to help my associates to really normalize and feel more confident about their work and the things that they're doing in therapy, and just help them identify what are their strengths. Also giving them that structure, because I feel like a structure is very needed once you're ready to have your own practice. If you don't have a structure, you don't know how to organize yourself, your notes, the work that you do, then you're gonna become burnout, and you're not gonna enjoy the career that costs you a lot of money, a lot of time away from your family, even time away from yourself. So I really like to make this experience positive, understanding that we don't have to be part of this toxic hustle culture. You can definitely balance personal life with work life as an associate, because I feel like there's this narrative that you have to do all this extra work, that you need to work overtime, being underpaid. But it shouldn't be like that. We should be able to work together in the sense that we can learn, so we can continue doing the work that we want to do.
Yes, we need sustainability, we need financial stability, we need support. Yes, yes to all of that. And I just want to recognize that this program does have a lot of limitations. One of them being that it's only in California. The other one is that it provides limited amount of hours that clinicians are able to accumulate per year. There's also the limitation of the stipend is not something that an associate clinician would earn if they were to be working 40 hours a week at a private practice or even at a county mental health institution. So it does have limitations, just recognizing that, and we are trying to work to make it better each year. But with that, Muriel, I do want to, Doctora Muriel, oh, you see where I'm going? Also getting used to it, so my apologies. But what are some of the perks and expectations? Maybe some of the good things that you feel that your supervisors get, and maybe some of the expectations that you need from them or that you want from them.
Yes, and I think I could start with future second years. Like I mentioned, I am the art certified therapist, consulting and training. So being able to give them the feedback, that extra consulting support as they're doing EMDR therapy is going to be a big perk. I have many years of experience working with the undocumented community, and especially focusing on complex PTSD, very holistic approach. I focus on EMDR and internal family systems, but I'm also very open-minded about holistic treatments like, leer de las cartas, like the tarot cards, or maybe working some ancestral work, and being able to bring that into therapy, how we can integrate it, right? Because I don't know if you'll follow these Facebook groups, but sometimes there's a lot of conflict where, well, that's not scientific based, so we cannot do this. And they just want to do CBT. And I'm like, CBT does not fucking work anymore. Like, come on, there's other things that we need to integrate in order for CBT to work fully. So I think those are one of the perks, and I like to be challenged a lot. So if you have something that you think is gonna work, like definitely talk about it. I'm never opposed to those things, unless it's hurting the client, then we're gonna have issues, because I'm all about client care. What else did you ask? What was the second part of your question, Maida? Sorry.
Expectations for your. I love your passion that you're like, let me not don't even get me about CBT, because there should be a culturally sensitivity training on CBT and other modalities, of course. But yes, thank you
Yes.
for that. I would like to know about the expectations that you have of
I
your
think the expectation is be on time. I think that's a big thing for me. Communication. If you're gonna be 30 minutes late, an hour late, talk to me, let me know. I think that's a big thing for me. Communication is key because we are working or we will be working with a very sensitive community where they have been marginalized, discriminated 24/7, unfortunately, in any settings of their life. So for them to come to therapy where they have that hope that it's going to be a safe space and you're not going to be respectful of their time, you're not going to be respectful of their things that they're saying, then this is not the right program for you. And that's something that I like to talk about, even on my own private practice, where we have to be very respectful of our clients, and it starts with that. And it shows, when your client retention, if your client wants to come back, it's because you're doing a great job. Even though you might feel like, oh, I'm not, like I didn't know what I was doing today, but your client showed up the next session, is because you did something, you humanize your client, you see them as a person. So that's one of the big things that I have, and we will be able to get through that with communication, because if we don't communicate, then we don't know what's happening. And I think the second thing is paperwork. It's very important to, as you're protecting your license and my license, because I oversee all the work that you do. It's very important to make sure that your clients are signing all of their forms, the consent, that you're doing your progress notes on time. I could be very flexible the first month, but then after the second month, my progress notes are super easy. It's not difficult, and I get a lot of, like, some license clinicians don't like how simple my notes are, but again, it comes from a point where I want to take care of my client. Me working with DMH, and having to do all those long notes, like 2 pages sometimes, it really hurt my clients when they were going back to court, when they're, I got subpoenaed, and it didn't feel well. Like, things that I put in my notes because that's what they tell me to do, it was hurting my client. Possibility of change their status, get their child back, or maybe even go to a profession that they wanted to go, but because of their cannabis use, and I have to put it on paper, it really hurt my client's ability to get jobs sometimes. So with that, I learned that I wanted to make a very simple, concise, safe progress note. And if you are part of the program, you will see it. And it's all about protecting our clients, but also protecting ourselves, because when you go to court to talk about your client, every little thing, they know how to break it down and how to make you doubt about what you're saying, what you're doing. So the progress notes, in the thing, is like, well, that's what I check, and that's what I check, and that's all I can say. There's no more than that. So it really protects you in that sense. So paperwork is a big thing for me as well. And the third one, it's like self-care. This field is hard, it's difficult. As a community, we're going through a lot of changes. So I will force you to take time off, because I know I have a hard time with that. So I will remind you, you have to take some time off. And I will ask you to remind me to take some time off too. Because
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you for the reminder. Even though the program starts October 21st and ends the second week of June, there are at least 3 weeks that are going to be off. So you're not going to have, all these, you're not going to constantly be seeing clients every single week without getting time off. You will be getting some mandatory time off. Yes. So with that, Laurie, what advice would you give to those who are thinking about joining the program? Whether it's word of advice or like a warning or words of encouragement, whatever comes out first.
Yeah. I would say be confident in your abilities, be confident in what you've learned, and be consistent. I think both of those are really important. When I first started the program, that was a big one for me. I was nervous to start doing therapy again. I hadn't practiced it since my traineeship. I had taken years off. So I was nervous to start over, and to start seeing clients. And I was met with nothing but encouragement, support, help to continue growing in my therapeutic skills. I would say knowing your boundaries and your own limits as to what you can do or what you remember well from school, if you just graduated or if you took time off. Um, it's okay to seek help and to, ask someone who has their license, or your supervisor especially, right? And I think that was one big thing for me. And I remember even the first few supervisions with Muriel were about that. I was like, I feel there's nothing I can do for these people, like I feel so small in the room and I don't know. And she's like, you're literally the professional in there and they know that, you know, they trust you, so you trust yourself, kind of thing. And so, that, and then also knowing when to ask for help and when something felt off, to talk to your supervisor about it, talk to Maida about it, and then being consistent in your supervision with your clients, with your progress notes and the trainings, and all of that helped me feel more in control of my work and less like I was just drowning trying to keep up with everything. So I would say if you feel like you're drowning, reach out to someone, get the help you need. And, we're all in this together. So I think that's been helpful to rely on each other, build that network with the other program participants. I think that's been a huge help for me too, to know that I have a group of people that I feel confident referring clients to. And so, yeah, make connections, build relationships with the people in the program.
Appreciate those wise words, Lori, Laurie, the whole meeting. So sorry about that. Dr. Muriel, what are some words of encouragement, of warning, or anything that you would like to share for those that are thinking about applying?
I think this is a great program that you all should be part of if you meet that criteria. But also, like I said before, making sure that you have the commitment and the passion and the willingness and motivation to do this, because life happens, life is not going to stop vibing if you come into this program. So if you have that commitment, I think this is a great way to give back to your community. If you are in this field, you are all about helping others. And this is a great program where you really get to help individuals that are struggling every day, not just because of their status, but because of work, family dynamics, their own mental health challenges. And you do get to work with a badass supervisor. I think I bring a lot of insight. My trainings are wonderful. I do a lot of immigration evaluations, the EMDR, and I love to share information. For me to get where I am, I have to hit myself on the wall multiple times because people does not like to help you sometimes. And that was very upsetting for me, getting it from other colegas, therapists out there. So if you have a questions, when you're part of this cohort, you get a lot of perks. Like I provide a lot of feedback, things that are really going to help you, not just during the program, but after the program as well.
Thank you both so much. As we're wrapping this up, I am gonna go back to share my screen just because I have one slide that I would like you to see. And this is, so just to wrap it up, to fill out the application, you please go to immigrantsrising.org/MH All you have to do is just answer some questions. It's gonna ask you to upload your resume, upload a copy of your registration associate number, and a copy of your malpractice insurance. If for some reason maybe you don't have your malpractice insurance now and you would like to get it until the end of until you are accepted into the program, please upload maybe your resume twice because it is a requirement to upload this the malpractice. Upload your resume twice, send me a message, say I will, I already submitted my application. The only thing that I am missing is that insurance, but I don't want to get it until I'm 100% sure that I'm going to be a part of the program. In that case, completely understandable, but the deadline, it's Sunday, September 15th. So if you face any issues, please send me a message. I see folks raising your hand, so I will get to you because I do want to hear what questions you have. And if you need to contact me, please send me a message to m.barragan-o'brien@immigrantsrising.org. I'm going to be posting it in the chat. And or if you want to take a screenshot of the email, please do that.